All kinds, Milt said, and he chuckled. That night, Anne loaded everything she had collected into the trunk of her car and drove to the place she had been the first time this happened. It was out the highway a mile, and then left on a dirt road for a half mile or so to an abandoned sharecropper's shack. She unloaded the bags into the shack and left. She didn't bother looking around. She knew she would see no one there. The next day, Anne got to the station earlier than usual and parked in the back parking lot. She opened the office door and went in. It was just before 5 and still dark and very quiet. It was cool this morning, so Anne found the thermostat and set it at 70 degrees. She vaguely heard the furnace start, and a few moments later heard the blower kick in. It was a good quality furnace, and in a few minutes the station was comfortably warm. She sat at her desk and pondered what to do next. She knew there would be nothing she could do until she got another call from the, quote, voice, end quote. Still, she considered asking a few questions of the other officers just to get everyone ready for whatever would happen next. She wondered who had the dispatch duty tonight. She checked the schedule and found it was Charlie Ford. He would be getting here in a short while, she knew. The person who drew dispatch duty was usually the first to arrive at the station the next morning. Because of the small size of the police force, especially now with the loss of Billy Thompson, the station house closed each evening, usually around 8 o'clock, and the officers took turns acting as police dispatchers in case something happened or someone needed their assistance. The station's dispatch number was forwarded to the night dispatcher's home number. Each officer had a direct link with the chief's special home dispatch number. This special number was a separate line he had installed for this purpose only, and only his officers had the special number. Anne hadn't long to wait. The car's headlights lit the front of the station and swung into the curb. In a few seconds, Charlie Ford got out of his car and walked across the sidewalk to the station door. Anne could see his head tilted sideways, trying to look through the front blinds to see who was already there. He took the door latch in his hand and twisted it sharply and expected it to open. It didn't. Anne hadn't unlocked the front door. Charlie became quickly alert and backed away from the door to the side. He hesitated for an instant, then drew his pistol as he ducked low at the window and peered between the Venetian blinds and into the office. He listened intently for any sound from inside or from behind him. A shadow crossed in front of his face, and he knew someone was inside and headed toward the door. He stood quickly and moved to the side of the door, careful to stay out of sight. He took a shooter's stance with his revolver held with both hands. The door opened, and he heard a woman's voice say, "Charlie, is that you?" Charlie just now realized he had been holding his breath. He let it out very slowly and quietly. He felt his body loosen as if a taut rubber band had been released. The little beads of perspiration that had formed on his forehead dissolved and disappeared. Very carefully and with almost no motion, Charlie slipped his pistol back into his holster. Then, as casually as he could manage, he stepped out into sight and said, "Yeah, it's me. I saw the lights on and started around back to see if the back door had been left open, and the lights left on all night." Anne would never know what Charlie had just experienced. The fear he had felt as he readied himself for combat with an unseen foe. Normally, Charlie was very easygoing and at ease with his job, but so many weird things had been happening lately that subconsciously he now seemed always to be on edge. As Charlie started into the office, Anne stepped back and walked to her desk. "Sorry I didn't unlock the door," she said. "I just didn't think of it." "No problem," said Charlie. "You're here awful early. You couldn't sleep, huh?" "Yeah, something like that," she said. "I bet we'd all be surprised to know how many times some of us come here to the office at night or get here early for one reason or another," Charlie said. "I know I stop by sometimes at night just to be doing something. Sometimes I look at records of things that happen that we can't figure out, like old man Rafton being killed. You know, there has to be a reason for that happening, but who knows what it is? Someone does, and sooner or later, I guess it'll come out." As an afterthought, he added with a chuckle, "Maybe you can solve that one too." Anne's face reddened slightly, but she said nothing. She knew that Charlie's comment was the kind that required no reply. Charlie sat quietly, thinking of what had just happened and of the conversation that followed. The little adventure he had just experienced had left him with a heightened sense of consciousness. He realized now how exciting it had been. The excitement he felt would carry him along for as long as he let it, and he now realized that he loved the feeling. And the conversation was unique for Charlie Ford. It was more than he had said to anyone besides Mel and Lois Vernon for a long time. He had revealed something about himself that no one knew. He had let Ann Barton into his mind, if only for a second. He never did that with anyone. Unbeknown to Charlie, Mel had done the same thing the day before. And he knew there was something that had been unsaid here by Ann. Somehow he felt that she knew more about some things here at the station than she would say. Somehow he felt that if the killer of the mayor was ever caught, Detective Ann Barton would be involved. She might even be the one to solve the case, just like she solved the Abbott murder. No one knows yet how she solved that one, and she wasn't talking. The sun was up and the other officers started coming to work. The chief came in first and was vaguely surprised to see Ann already there. "Couldn't sleep, huh?" he said to Ann. Charlie grinned at Ann and said, "Sounds like an echo in here." Smiling at the chief, Ann said, "That's the same thing Charlie asked me." "Anything on the docket for today?" Ann asked the chief. He looked at her intently for a second and said, "It's funny you should ask. Oops. I got a call from the state attorney general yesterday. It seems there's a seminar on crime-solving techniques scheduled for 2.5 weeks from now in Philly. It'll start that Friday and then stay the Friday night after the seminar. It'll start that Friday at 8 and last all day. You'd need to go up Thursday night and then stay the night Friday after the seminar. I reserved a room at the Fremont Hotel. It's room 212. The seminar is being held in the Fremont Hotel conference room. Detective Barton, I'm thinking about sending you." My friends, that concludes Chapter 7 of A Detective Story. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you don't mind my disarray. It's not very often I do things that get me in a condition like this. It makes me feel kind of good to work around the house a little bit. So anyhow, we'll see you next time. Next time in Chapter 8. We'll see you down the road if the good Lord's willing and the creek don't rise. Bye-bye.